If a $5 million brand came up to you and said, I'm stuck at 5 million for the last 2 years, what's the biggest thing I should focus on to break through? What would you say?
Luxury products, probably. I see a lot of brands that don't, they get comfortable with their revenue. Maybe it's more money than they've ever made in their lifetime. And they sit on their lofty cloud thinking, like, I've made it. And they don't keep innovating. And then over time, that product is no longer relevant or whatever, or actually just had a call.
All right. Welcome to the Ecom Giants Roundtable, the first of hopefully a very successful series. My name is Ian Page. I'm the CEO of Bullseye Sellers and founder of Celico. Today, I'm joined by some of the most influential minds in e-commerce. I like to call these guys e-commerce titans, e-commerce giants. I have a lot of names for them. They've all built giant category-defining brands. That's what I like to call them. We have, to start, Jay Hunter, the supplement king behind MaryRuth's legendary rise as a dominant leader in the wellness space. We got Aaron Cordovez, founder and CEO of Zulay Kitchen, a dominant 9-figure powerhouse in kitchen accessories. We also have here right now Justin Madagi, the growth driver behind Lumineux, an oral hygiene brand on track to break 9 figures this year with nationwide placement in every Walmart and Target in America. Yeah. So I think I'm in good companies. I think if you add it up, we're at about $500 million in annual sales just on Amazon between these guys right here. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you for being here. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
So my goal here today is to try to get into your guys' psyche just a little bit and extract some golden nuggets that we can provide to the average e-commerce seller who doesn't have access to you guys on a daily basis, right? So I'm gonna start the first question of this pod to Justin. I'm putting you on the spot mainly because you have the best hairdo, so you're going first. So the first question for you today is Walmart, Target, and other major retailers. What's the real difference in strategy between crushing it online and winning on the shelves? How do you differentiate those two?
Yeah. It's really interesting because I think online and retail are two entirely different games. They're almost opposites of each other. So for online, if you're one channel focused, like for example, meta ads, and being really good at that, you can build an amazing business. But for retail, you need to really build out a full funnel. So at the bottom of the funnel, you need to have some sort of sponsored search or DSP. So like a Walmart, Carts Connect, Roundtable, you need that at the bottom. And then you also need in-store marketing. And then on top of it, a top of funnel channel like TikTok, streaming TV, radio, something that builds awareness, because awareness is key in retail. It's what separates you. You're really there with the big boys. So you need something that really separates you and strong your brand in the long term. So like every successful brand in retail recently has had, viral moments on TikTok. I think like Jay's the best representative right now of retail success. I know they're growing rapidly, and that's because they're getting, maybe like a few billion views a month on TikTok right now. And that translates to retail very well. And then in order to maintain it, you need to do the in-store, you need to do sponsored search, you need to do display, you need to do a bunch of different activations. It's quite the opposite of online, where you can be great at one thing and you can ride that for a very long time. In retail, you need to be good to great on many different things.
What do you think, Jay? Do you agree with all these statements from Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I think, retail has huge scale, especially, when we get into some of the big box places like Target or Walmart. But I do think like you need to be ready. You got to have a very efficient or on point supply chain, right? Because the retailers are very mad at you when you don't have the stock. But then you also got to be ready to drive velocity. So you need like a very good marketing engine so you can drive units off the shelf, because that determines like what other products you might get in the store, how long you stay on the shelf. You really got to have like a great combination of the two, operational excellence and like a good marketing engine to win in retail. I think that those are the two big ones.
I'll never forget something you told me a couple of years ago, Jay, that never try to get into a bunch of stores at once. I think that was you that told me that. Focus on one chain and kill it on that chain first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think even today for us, like our number one retail partner today is Whole Foods. We sort of came up with them. We still, they're pretty much our innovation partner today. We love working with them. But like we just went with Whole Foods and we made sure we won with Whole Foods. And that sort of set the tone for all the other retailers to follow after. So I think it was a great choice. And I do think that's the way to do it. You just get spread too thin. Unless you have a huge marketing engine already, it's hard to win in every retailer at the same time. You got to give each one, very specific type of love. They need different support each time. So like, I think just getting that right, one store at a time is definitely the best approach.
Could you elaborate on that? Like, what do you do to make sure you win in Whole Foods? I mean, we're in again a couple of retailers. We're babies that ain't probably convert to you guys in store. But like, okay, let's see, we're in Walmart. We're getting into Walmart very soon. Like, what should we do to make sure it wins?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, a lot of the retailers have a lot of programs. I think it's really working with like whoever for us, like we have some great buyers at Whole Foods, but like something that really wins at Whole Foods is like providing the stores and like the employees at the stores with some education around the product, right? Like Whole Foods is just a special type of retailer because when you go to the aisle, like someone's there to give you advice. Like, hey, you should take this multivitamin or that multivitamin. You're not going to get that at maybe a Target or a Walmart, but like Whole Foods has that sort of special touch where they can inform the consumer. And like, my category, it's a scary category with a lot of options. And so like, I have one of the best retail teams in the world. I think like they're very grassroots, right? They'll go to the stores and help like train the employees and provide them care packages and like knowledge around the product. And then we also like, we're pretty heavy handed at like, for us, we have liquid and gummy vitamins where we can win on taste. You do a lot of sampling at the stores. And then I think there's just some general marketing support, right? Like you have billboards where you maybe share it, like, hey, you can buy it at MaryRuths.com. You can also get it at Whole Foods. You might do some like local magazine targeting, but then even like email, social stuff like that. Like you got to use the whole engine to drive velocities at Whole Foods. And then you might do that for your other retail partners too. I think, every retailer really wants to be the top one. And I think that's true for the channels too, right? Amazon wants to be your favorite channel and so does TikTok shops. But I think like once you get them to all buy in that like as all, as one ship rises, they all rise, right? Like as you get them all to buy in on that, that's like the best strategy. You just got to do it sort of brick by brick, in my opinion.
Wait, so let me just see. I've heard a little trick in there. Yeah. You go to the Whole Foods and you're giving out your product to the employees that are going to be with the customers so they can be like, hey, I tried this. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make sure you're following whatever that retailer's guidelines are. So make sure you are. But like in most of the cases, like the retailers want their employees to get the products, try the products. There's some like unique programs I'd have to share them with you, but like there's some third-party services even that do this quite well, like at a vitamin shop or a Whole Foods. Really depends on the retailer, right? You need a retailer where like they have employees in the aisle providing guidance to consumers, and that's not every retailer, but there's a number of them where that's true. At other retail places, it's all about the display and like what kind of information you provide to the consumer on the display or the packaging. And so again, it's nice to go brick by brick because the strategy is a bit different and you got to figure out the nuances to really get it right.
And also the consumer demographic is different between each retailer. So like Whole Foods is a totally different consumer demographic than Walmart. And it's interesting. We did like a linear TV campaign. And one of the things we saw is that we had from those customers specifically the customers that bought in Walmart had a way lower repeat customer rate than the ones that bought at Whole Foods. And that's because, we were focusing on ingredients and the natural method, which works extremely well with that consumer demographic. Whole Foods doesn't do too well in Walmart. So you need to also find multiple different consumers at the same time and knowing that each retailer has different things that work for it specifically.
Well, I got to point out one thing because I think, Jay, you got to tell us what's going on with this photo right here. What's going on with this, Jay?
Yeah. So, this is school for, yeah. For us, it's back to school, right? So I do think I'm a very big performance marketer. I always tell people I don't do a lot of brand marketing. I just do what I call brand formats, which is like a fun buzzword, but like just do so much performance marketing that it builds brands. So I'm normally like run meta ads, run Amazon sponsored ads, and like work at my ROAS for yesterday. I do think as you grow, especially your retail business and your distribution is a lot wider, that you can run some like out of home support like this, which we're doing for back to school, right? Back to school is like a big seasonal period for supplements. So we go pretty heavy for it. I see that. And so any place where we have good retail distribution, we're trying to hit the out of home pretty hard. And I think that's a good compliment to the rest of the strategy. So
how much did that ad run? Maybe a big ad was
going to ask the same thing I did, wasn't sure if I was always part of a package. I'm not from Czech, honestly. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's true. It's not one placement, right? You call a broker and then they get you a ton of placements.
Yeah.
Right?
Usually my strategy though is like I do think it makes a lot of sense to like dominate an area at a time, just like a retailer, right? Like as you want to make sure you're hitting, if you're going to hit a city, try to hit that city hard versus just do like a little bit in a lot of different cities, right? Like that's a lot tougher. So
Thank you very much. So I want to introduce Prudence Millsap, who fashionably late. She's the co-founder and driving force behind Beauty by Earth, a market leader in skincare and self-tanning. Welcome to the call, Prue.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you know what? Because you're late, I'm going to give you the next question.
Sweet.
Yeah. Love it. So with TikTok shop exploding, how are you leveraging social commerce for Beauty by Earth differently now compared to Amazon or D2C growth channels?
I don't look at them as being different. I suppose I look at it from a omni-channel perspective because I think, well, I know that there's a ton of spillover that occurs from TikTok to Amazon as well as from Meta to Amazon. Like they all kind of work together. So I view it as just one more channel to get impressions, to get in front of people. Well, yes, you get conversions in platform as well, but you also get a lot of spillover, brand recognition and all that. So we use it just within the whole funnel and the whole business as far as like being omni-channel is concerned.
Do you consider TikTok to be more of a top of funnel strategy for you than looking for that direct conversion, or is it a hybrid of both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it is top of funnel for sure. Like there's lots of people who have never heard of us. So we do hit people at top of funnel there, but we also are going for a direct conversion.
So
I get there about that. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's the most, it's like both channel of all time.
Yeah.
Right? It's like one of those few great brand awareness marketing levers that also can drive conversions today, right? So like, I think both is exactly right there.
And how does that send your ROAS targets, Prue, knowing that there's a spillover, knowing it's top of funnel? Are you really okay with breaking even, or are you not okay with breaking even on TikTok?
I'm okay with not breaking even on TikTok. We use different attribution tools that allow us to see the spillover effect that it has. And so we know that even if break even on TikTok, we are still profitable.
Yeah. And what do you think that is? 50% of spillover go to your other channels?
I think for every one sale we get on TikTok, we get half a sale on Amazon, something like
633.
Yeah.
I've noticed it's different for every brand. We have one client, totally random. They sell this doorbell. He has a patented little doorbell thing for rings. It's really great on video. He gets 5 to 10 million impressions a week. It kills it. And he sells $2,000 on TikTok. Like literally, he can't convert anybody. And then, but his branded search on Amazon goes completely nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it, if you view the spillover as top of funnel, they maybe don't just or like purchasing from TikTok a certain percentage of people. They go to Amazon to look at reviews or see if this brand really exists. That's just some janky seller or whatever it is. And you have a highly converting page on Amazon. The likelihood of you converting them is going to be much higher than it would be on TikTok Shop itself.
Now I have one for you, Aaron. So how do you collect, and I picked this specifically for you because I knew you'd have a great answer. So how do you collect, interpret, and act on customer feedback to continuously improve your products and stay ahead of market shifts? Because you have a lot of SKUs. How do you pull that up?
There's a lot of stuff that's like data driven. It's like, honestly, if you look at most trending items on TikTok or a lot of new, growth in search volume, which you can find on a lot of tools like SmutScout or even on Amazon itself, it'll show you what's viral. And that's always good. And another thing, at least for my category, I have literally like products that my wife wants as a list of sourcing. If she's going to want it, like, it's good. She's like, I want this, like whatever, an ice maker. It makes ice. And she loves it and whatever. I'm like, okay, good. We're going to go make that in various and build on that. But because some people say like, ask the customer, and that does work. Like the customer will respond to some degree. Like if you show them 2 images, they'll tell you which one they like better.
And product reviews.
Yeah, product reviews, there's good info. You should always read those. But also there's the fact of like, just what you think is cool is all like, I've come and done like a bit of a 360. Because back in the day, like your first product is like, no, it doesn't matter what you like or whatever. But now when you have an ability to like make stuff and do patents and like make something amazing, it's a little bit like free just to like, I want to have this product that's amazing and I just think it'll sell. So I think I went from like only data to like now like it just makes something that you're gonna love. Like it's so weird. I don't know, but I've done for a bit of that phase. Because trends are always great to like look after something that's hot. But like just something that I know we will love in our office, in our house, that we're going to use, we'll go after that and just be like, I want to have this in my catalog to offer it. Because we have enough sales, we have enough customers, we have enough awareness that like, you have a new product and there's going to be people that buy it if it's a great product. So one thing is like, I want to love the product. I want to see it. We have something coming out like Q4 that's like just incredible. Like there's no market research at all, zero data. Like it actually doesn't, it never used to before. It's a brand new thing, but I just think it's going to be amazing. So I'm going to go after it. And like some of these that we've done have done well, because in a way you have to be the innovator, right? The pioneer. Like no one would have told Steve Jobs, right? Like I really want an iPod, right? Like I really want an iPhone. It didn't exist, bro. So like there's following data, and they're following like what you think is going to be amazing also.
Same.
That's something to say on that question, Ian, because you asked a very specific question, right?
I did.
I'd say we very heavily review customer feedback, use, etc. And then we look at the percentage of people that are maybe complaining about something or say something that makes the product not a 5-star product. I think the first thing you have to realize is like, you can never go into business thinking that your shit doesn't stink. Like your shit does stink to somebody, right? And if you think like your products are your babies and they're the perfect specimen and like nothing could ever be wrong with your stuff, it's going to be really hard to succeed. We like in skincare, beauty in general, like trends change, ingredients innovate, new things come up that can do miraculous things for your skin. People want products that have X ingredient in them now. Same for supplements, right? These are ever-changing spaces. If you don't constantly stay on top, your product is going to be an antique in 5 years. Like, say I'm reformulating stuff all the time to make it hit what people are looking for now. Because look, all the big dogs do it too. Neutrogena doesn't think their shit don't stink either. They're reformulating and, new and improved all the time. And so how do you come to that? You read the reviews, you see what products people are buying and what ingredients people are searching for. Both supplements and beauty, both are very ingredient-driven spaces as far as search is concerned. So if you look at what people are searching for, what's trending, etc., it's very easy to deduce what do you need to change, right? And so, like, I always have products where I'm like, good, let's sell through packaging and we're going to relaunch the new and improved version because you have to.
Does it ever make your best-selling products become difficult to continue to stay on top with the trends changing? Like those, maybe they have ingredients that aren't cool 5 years later or 10 years later. Does that happen to you?
For me, not my best sellers. Okay, yeah. Like I've been selling my best sellers for 10 plus years and not much has really changed except maybe like a preservative system or something like that. But I went into them with very clean ingredients. Now, outcome-based skincare products like anti-aging things like that, like people are looking for very specific things. Like when sales start to decrease, you have to go like, why, right? Did I ride a trend while it was good and now it's not? Now it's dead and I need to now make it ingredient forward, like what people are looking for now or whatever. But I think a lot of people I know who have not done this well and think that their shit doesn't stink and that their products are just, God's gift to every human, their business is eventually tanked.
Yeah, makes total sense.
And it could be from a packaging perspective, branding perspective also, by the way.
That's true. The white supplement bottles, right? Those are becoming less of a thing every single day. And those were huge 10 years ago. All right, Jay, scaling. Let's talk about scaling.
Yeah.
So when MaryRuth went from 7 to 8 and then 8 to 9 figures, what was the single hardest scaling challenge for you guys? And how in the heck did you break through it?
This one's easy. Inventory is always the most difficult challenge for scaling. I think it's tough. We've had a great journey. And I think just for supply chain, I always say our sales team, and that includes me, is like really good at selling stuff. Well, we're not good at selling exactly what we told you we were going to sell, right? So I do think like getting better, especially around like SKU forecasting and making sure supply chain knows, what inventory they need to get of what products and when you're going to sell those and what campaigns are coming online. I think that's been the most difficult thing for us. A lot of that just comes a little bit with like time and learning, right? Like every business is a little bit different. We've scaled it quite quickly. I could have never predicted, even if I had great forecasting, like what TikTok Shops was going to become. And so like some things are an anomaly, but I think hats off to my supply chain team. They've just dug deep. They've built a lot of internal tools with our analytics department just on like where inventory is, how much do we have, what are the days of cover, how does that compare against what the sales guys think they're going to sell for those products. And so I would say like demand planning, forecasting, supply chain were like our biggest scaling issues. But I feel like the team's come a long way, and most of those are things of the past. Few products we still have a little bit of trouble with. I do think we didn't make it easy on supply chain by just having a lot of SKUs. We have 230 SKUs, so there's quite a few of them. But I think we're getting to a place now where we keep it a lot more simple. Like the new innovation is just like core to the brand. Make sure it's going to be a product that lasts forever. I think sort of similar vein, we're trying to see like what trends are just like, very short term versus like what are like sustained trends where something's like new and likely to be popular for a long time. And we're trying to differentiate between the two so we don't overload supply chain with like a bunch of, one-off products that won't exist in the future. But, it's been a long journey. I think this year we're feeling the best we've ever felt about just having inventory and staying in stock. So
you're finally feeling a little bit comfortable is what you're saying.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Until, the next TikTok shop comes around and we double sales, then maybe not. But for now, yeah, feeling good.
Wow. Yeah, one thing I would add, I remember 6 years ago when we went from 5 to 25 million during COVID or right before COVID. One of the things we did is we saw we were getting traction on Meta, and we had our COO go to all of the manufacturers and tell them like, oh, we're going to scale very quickly. We need your buy-in. Can you give us better payment options? And I think one of the biggest things that happen when you scale very quickly is there's a major cash flow crunch, just given the way that CPG brands are and that you have a physical product. So I would really make sure you have a good relationship with all of your manufacturers, have them bought in, try to get like 50-50. So maybe 50 once they ship it to you and then 50% 30, 60, 90 days later. But that will help a lot when you have all of these expenses coming in, you have all of these sales coming out. You need to really make sure financially you're always in a good position while
and that could be debt or a raise of some sort.
Or you could do that. At that time, like Wayflyer and Brex were giving off money. Now it's not like that anymore. I think they were like giving you 0% with ad credits to Meta ads just to use them.
Crazy.
It was crazy. So now it's like so expensive because of the interest rate. So you need to be even more careful with when you're scaling. How is all of this going to work together?
So Mr. Cordovez, you source from overseas. I don't know what percentage of your inventory is sourced from overseas, but let's just say a large percent. Okay. All of that. Do you manage money knowing the lead time is just that extra overseas factor?
We have at least starting from like 2019, I had like this big obsession with the ROI. The ROI of a product. It got me into trouble a little bit because we pendulum swung a little bit too much. But the truth is, if you could get some $2 back for every dollar you're putting in, which is like a 200% ROI, then cash flow will not really be a problem for you, like pretty much ever. It's like you could double your sales every like 9 months and it would not be much of a problem. We had a 4X in 2020 and like we had cash flow issues. And that's kind of one time when we're like, oh gosh, like we need to focus more on ROI because having a product that we buy that day for $20 and we make 10 on it, it's a 50% ROI. Like it's going to hurt the cash flow. You can't really increase the sales very much. So what ended up happening is we need to actually have products that will give that ROI. And that typically is going to be, especially like, everybody here, you guys all formulate your own product. I don't formulate them. So instead of formulas, I have patents. Right now, any product that we're going into, we have actually an inventor or design, somebody actually create a product. We're going to patent it. We're going to give it a name. We're going to trademark that name and we're going to go and push that product then. Like we have a product that we just launched this year that is now our number 4 bestseller. And it was, imagined from the ground up, right? And so that product has, let's say, 150% ROI. In that case, you're not going to have too much customer issues. We've gotten one loan. We actually, funny enough, today I'm signing on a loan just to like expand. Like we'll get a loan today. But before now, we basically used Amazon loans. We had one SBE loan one time. I actually loaned us some money too one time when we were on a crunch. They had a very yes. That was amazing. Crew got my back. We had like 4X and I was like, we're going to order 2,500 SKUs like in the next 2 months. Something insane. And I realized that really couldn't be done.
And when are you going to pay her back, Aaron? She's been asking me about that.
What was the favor?
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you actually got paid back. I think the biggest cash flow problem that I've seen that are of course, if you don't make any profit, you're going to have cash flow problems. Like that's obvious, right? But the profitable companies that have cash flow problems, it's primarily due to a low ROI. You have a product that costs you 10, and at the end of the day, you're making 4. you can't, like, yes, you're profitable, but you won't be able to grow that way. So I think all those, from what I've seen and people that I've talked to, those kinds of businesses, they have kind of nothing special. It's not, there's no intellectual property. You know, you have a trademark because Amazon made you, but like the trademark doesn't mean anything. You don't build on it. And like you have no patents and have no formulation. It's like you put something off a shelf and you're selling, you have a 30% ROI. You're going to have cash flow problems, right? The solution is not getting a loan. In that case, the solution is actually building a product that you can have a better ROI. And so call me I don't know, capitalist or whatever you want to call it, but like you need to make more money. Like Don used to say, need their trademark. Everybody here, they make a ridiculous amount of ROI on every product. Like they put me to shame. Like they put me to shame, all of them, including Prudence. So like, I work on it, but we're still, in a commodity type industry, a lot less than, supplements, greens like these guys.
So what do you say to this, Prue? Do you call bullshit on the idea that you have to break even or be aggressive to grow or maybe even lose money for a while and then eventually you can get your tacos done? Do you call bullshit on that strategy? Because it kind of violates what Aaron's saying.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot about Aaron's business. He knows a lot about mine. We talk of it. We have a gross margin threshold that we go for when we launch a product, and it has to meet that because you have to have marketing dollars built in. If it doesn't meet that gross margin, we pretty much won't do it. Very, very rare exceptions to that rule. And the only exception to that rule would be if it's a sheer, like, extreme volume play, very large TAM sort of base. And I think you can always like bundle and things like that to get there to the 85%. We are bootstrapped, still are.
What's 85%? 85% gross margin? Damn. That's like not even my meth product has that. That's insane. But that's all you said. That's just put me to shame. 85% for me is
gross margin, not net margin, gross margin. Okay.
It still means you paid $15 for a product you sold for $100, technically based on the math, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But like, I think, we're bootstrapped. We always have been. We own 100% of our company. We also have no debt, which is not easy. We have leaned on a line of credit here or there once or twice. Generally it happens in Q3 when our sales are the lowest time period of the year and we have to place all of our Q4 orders. That's always where we get a little bit of a cash flow tightness feel, but we get out of that very quickly, and we've gotten better over the years of planning for that, knowing that that's going to happen. So like we're good. Not like nowadays in recent years we don't in some, like, going into some spaces I do believe you can do the, like, for a minute, don't worry about breaking even, go in the red a bit, like during a product launch, when you're like just seeding product to influencers and this sort of stuff, like you're going to go in the red. It's going to happen.
Not every sale is ever always going to be that margin, right?
Right.
It's isolated situations.
Yeah. But, and my comfortability with going into the red during that early phase of a product has become greater over the years. I used to be way tighter. I've loosened that up a little bit, and I feel like it.
I mean, the last launch I know that you did that really killed it was the bath bombs. You killed it on the bath bombs. I don't know if you ever ran in the red on that. It seemed like that just killed it right out the gate, bro.
Yeah, I'm sure we did go into the red. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To me, it all
seemed like from the outside.
85% gross margin is you have to spend a lot to go into the red. So everyone knows about those things. I mean, like that's crazy. My bet, like our best products have like 40 to 50%. Our best needs. Just so you know, like in our physical products. But I know that the current version gross margin, so that's just insane. Like that's terrible. That's not this.
You're in such a different business actually than the other three attendees, Aaron. Right? Everyone else here is in a consumable product, whether it's oral or on their skin. And I've always wondered about how do you do the business you're in, because it seems so cutthroat and there's so much competing products sourced from Chinese manufacturers. I'm actually in some ways more impressed with you than anybody else that I know, because you're doing a category that I would never get into. I would get into your still, and you're succeeding.
It actually means I'm not nearly as smart as any of you did. That's more.
You were dumb enough to get into it and smart enough to figure it out.
The thing is, the biggest seller on Amazon right now that I understand, number one, is Shark Ninja. Yeah. And that's in our category, right? Plus actions. So like the volume is there. That's the thing, right? It might be a smaller margin, but like there's volume there. So, I mean, I don't know, whatever. We all sell
Smart ninja. Well, you're really impressive, man. So I got a question for Justin. If you suddenly had to cut your marketing budget in half, what would you absolutely keep and why?
So what I would absolutely keep would be all of the top of funnel channels. So like TikTok, influencers, anything that builds my brand. What I would cut would be my branded and non-branded search on Amazon, Criteo, Walmart, all the different places. Just because, that's you kind of use that strategy once you've established your brand. But if you're only relying on that over time, there's going to be other competitors that come that build their brand that will get a lower CPA than you and be able to cut you out of the market. So you need to really focus on brand awareness and just the brand search volume over time. That's the key to winning, in my opinion. I think all the successful brands in my space that have done well always focused on building their brand, whether it's Their Breath, Hello, even the newer ones like Boca, Gurunanda, for example. It all started with putting the brand first, and then they got into PPC, which kind of stabilizes your business, but it'll never make it great, especially with the way the Amazon ecosystem is now. It's so competitive. The CPCs are so high. They kind of have a moat around it. You can't really build a brand there. And so that's what I would do. And then answering your other question that you asked, Prue, on aggressiveness, I spent a lot of time thinking about this just because there's so much more competition in our space recently. And I think the most important thing to look at when you're trying to see how aggressive you should be at marketing is your long-term LTV on your product. So if you know that in 12 months, I'm going to grow like my customer base by 1,000 customers, but those people will come back and buy at least 2 to 3 times throughout the year, then you can be more aggressive with your marketing because you have a strong LTV. However, there's some like other things that you need to look at, which is your total addressable market. One of the things that we ran into with the whitening strip space specifically, I think the whitening strips category is one of the most interesting categories because it's a lot smaller than most people think. It's only about a $500 million category. It used to be $800 million when Press first launched it, in 2000s area. But because it caused sensitivity, the category actually degraded. And on top of it, it's a very low frequency purchase product. On average, people buy it 1.2 times a year. So if you're thinking you can go and scale into that category and put a lot of marketing into it, you're going to find out on the back end that my revenue is not going to compound So it's more of a focus on profitability, grow over time, differentiate yourself type of category. On the other hand, like the toothpaste category, it's growing rapidly just because of all the new entrants, and people buy that every single month. So you can go in the red on the CPA for that product because you know that you're going to have a high repeat customer rate that buys frequent. So you need a customer that buys again and also buys. So like just a normal repeat customer rate is a flawed way of looking at it because you can have a 60% repeat customer rate, but if they're just buying once in the year and they buy again, you're not going to really be able to compound your business. You need them to buy a lot.
So back to the first thing you answered, Justin, I would say 9 out of 10 sellers would have said the opposite of what you said if they were below 25 million.
Yeah.
95% would have said, I'm with search.
Way below 25 million that way too.
Right. They would say, I'm going to keep my search because I'm number one on face cream and I'm never going to stop paying for that because it's terrifying and I'll just drop the top of like 90%.
I would still say that.
Noise.
Certain products I definitely would not stop at Amazon spend on for fear of going into their funnel of death.
The funnel of
losing traction. But I don't feel that way about my whole catalog. But certain words, yes.
Yeah, but you theoretically cut part of your PPC budget and move it into other places. I'm always a balance too. Like, for us, there's only 3 keywords we focus on for our whole brand. The rest are kind of like gravy. So we put, 30 to 40% of our PPC budget into 3 main keywords. The other 60% we do because, we're profitable on it. But I would take that 60% and put it somewhere else. So it's all relative to, each business has like a little bit of a different dynamic too. So you need to be able to understand all the really important stuff versus some of the stuff that's extra that you make money on that could be used better elsewhere.
So what percentage of your sales are Amazon?
Right now, it's about 50% Amazon and then, like 45%. So we're about 50-50 business.
Yeah. And I don't assume that oral care does well in D2C for most brands. Like I wouldn't buy Crest on Crest.com. Like,
No, we pushed it to
so makes sense.
DFC. Like we were spending, like 1 to 2 million a month on Meta ads. The repeat customer rate on D2C, no matter what you do, is not good. That's not where people want to purchase. We instantly moved over to Amazon. Our repeat customer rate and LTV tripled, and then retail's an even higher LTV.
So yeah, it's just
Channel dynamics in the categories that is like so mind-boggling that you can have the most like sophisticated strategy on D2C and go nowhere, which I've also seen with all our competitors, like High Smile, that was very D2C focused, Bites Toothpaste Bits. None of them were able to break through that threshold.
What about you, Jay? I haven't heard your D2C numbers in a long time. The numbers you told me were like 4 years old. So how much is your D2C part of the pie these days?
It's still pretty good. It's about the same size as our TikTok Shop business, which is pretty sizable. We'll probably do 13% of the revenue, each of those channels individually, but it's the slowest growing by far. Right? My Amazon's going to grow almost close to 40% this year. Retail's exploding. TikTok Shop's almost at 100% growth. And, the Shopify, the DC store, grow 8% this year, right? Like, I do think, especially once you get big distribution, it's just hard to give customers a reason on why they should shop at your DC site, right? If you want convenience, you're going to grab the vitamins when you get your groceries at the retail store. If you want speed of shipping, you get it from Amazon. And if you want price, you get it from TikTok. So it's tough to like really incentivize customers, like a true reason, like why it's a great thing to shop on our site. I think these days, again, for our category, we're like, it's a bit of a confusing category. Like, what vitamin should I take? What vitamin should I give my kids? Like, we're trying to be a little bit more education forward, right? Like, I think MaryRuth has like a good perspective and like wants to give advice. But also like, we just want to guide people on like, this is what this product does, or this is what that product does. So we're trying to turn the site, it'll still have a conversion element, but more into like an education portal. So like, why should you buy our products? What makes them different? Why are they good? And so we're trying to tie everything together with that. I do think it's important, right? You need brand for the multiplier, but I agree here. Like certain level of search spend on Amazon and even Google, like I would never shut off, like I would always keep some foundation there, but like, the big multipliers, like in the effective TikTok shops or some of, even if you really dial in your meta strategy, which I think is still possible today, is really what like takes you to the next level.
Sorry, Aaron.
I'll say one thing on that, Ian.
And then I'll
like
there.
Yeah. And Jay said, when we really started to scale like fast is when we started to scale our meta spend. And same thing, if you looked at just our Shopify LCV and AOV, we were like, ugh, not quite high enough. Like, ugh, like it's maybe even less than break even. But we recently implemented this tool called Expandify. And basically what it does is it's an LTV tool, and it showed us that, which we didn't know, that even though we were converting people onto Shopify, they went on to do the rest of their conversions on Amazon. So it basically customer matches your Shopify customers to your Amazon customers and allowed us to see a blended LTV and at what period. And you could see all the different data. But like Justin said, once you understand what your true LTV is, it allows you to understand what can you spend on your acquisition costs, right? So that's a new tool. And that tool recently has been built out a lot more for this exact purpose of that blended LTV play and understanding at what point you lose your Shopify customers, which you acquired through Meta, to Amazon. It happens. I think 75% of our customers bounce from Shopify to Amazon. So we didn't know this before that. We knew there was some spillover for sure, because every time we increased our Meta spend, our Amazon brand search would go crazy. And it does every time. But Google and YouTube ads, if you graph it, are almost identical to Amazon sales. Like they have a much closer relevancy than Meta does. But once we convert those people through Meta to Shopify, they bounce to Amazon. That's what we learned recently.
Did you ever have the thought, screw it, let's just send people direct to Amazon for Meta, or you always wanted to have your D2C insulating the customer?
Yeah, we wanna build our email list and that sort of thing.
Makes sense. All right, I got a hot one for you, Aaron. It's coming in hot. Looking ahead 3 to 5 years from now, what trends do you think will reshape e-commerce, and how are you preparing for them now?
You know, you asked me like 5 questions, bro. You gotta have Jay. Come on. No, but
I'm gonna give Jay a hard one right after you.
I think that we don't know what it's gonna be, right? But what I've seen is that there's less and less people succeeding on one platform, right? There's less people that are just like, hey, I'm whatever Amazon Center, I'm D2C, I'm whatever. Like that's not the way the world works. Like Chris talking about, like you sell a crypto person on show and they know you, they like it, and they're not gonna go and do your checkout again and again and upsell. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that on Amazon, and then you're gonna succeed really if you can have it in the store, right? Like I just pick it up in the store. That's what I want, right? And like I think the trend you have to capture is this right here. Like, let me show you. I don't know if you can see my screen right here.
Yeah.
But this is Zulay Kitchen and Beauty Bar. We're getting destroyed. Look at Beauty Bar. They have like a breakout over here the last few months here.
Well, you're lucky Beauty by Earth doesn't sell kitchen supplies.
This is not. But what's happening is we don't run Meta. In fact, I just started spending like on TikTok Shop this last week. Our sales are up, I don't know, 50%, like week over week. We're like going heavy on TikTok Shop. It's like every person I hear, okay, we're gonna break even, we're gonna do that. Meta, TikTok, we've ignored it for too long. Right? So now we have the catalog, we have patents, we have special products, we have even more. Like our team right now for product, what we do well is product development. People always want to have new cool stuff. Nobody wants to say, yeah, I got this thing, 10 years ago. Check out my flip phone, right? Like there might be some people that do that, but that's like 1 out of 1,000, right? Like people want the new cool stuff, right? And if you go to wherever that's occurring, right now, a lot of that occurs on TikTok, right? Some of that might occur whatever on Instagram, on Facebook, but a lot of that's trendy and pushing, and TikTok is driving even who the top sellers on Amazon are. So as a brand, we have to know where are people making their decisions of what to put into their household, and you have to be there. So like, for us, we're making this big move. Okay, like Meta spending, like we're shooting videos for Meta. Like this is new for us. We never did Meta spend, right? But I know, and like last 2, I actually called Jay. I'm like, yo, Jay, can you help with some Meta ads? And he doesn't answer me on LinkedIn yet, which is all good. I'm working on it, right? I'm like, I'm reaching out to people, right? I'm like, probably at least once a week, I'm reaching out like, hey, teach me some Meta, because I know that we're like pure Amazon brands were hot, whatever, 5-10 years ago, but like, that's not what the big brands will actually be. So the trends will change into being more omni-channel, where you're like, yeah, you Coca-Cola now. Everybody gets to go wherever you get it. It's the distribution is there. Have distribution, and then you have to drive it into all those channels. So you can't be in one place. It's like the ways of the past. So I'm making a speech to myself. You haven't
it sounds like you're pumping yourself up right now. I like it. All right, so Jay, now I'm putting you on the spot with the subject of strategic partnerships. In my opinion, you are the king of partnerships. You always maintain your connections and you always foster your relationships. You've done a great job with our relationship over the years. How has partnerships with influencers, with other brands or affiliates ever made a dramatic difference in your growth trajectory? And can you share a specific example of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like, we use this all the time. I think it's especially with like other sellers and brands, like this call, right? Like it's nice to be able to, call up Aaron or call up Justin or call up Prudence and like ask questions about something that might be going great for them versus something that might not be going so well for us. I think like most of the time, the strategy is not to reinvent the wheel. There's some very rare cases where like something new comes along and like you do need to be first, and you might need to be the guy going first and taking some trips. But I think most of the time someone else has already tried what you're about to try, and they already know the few things you can avoid to just save a little bit of money and then use that on whatever's going to accelerate, right? So like, I think even recently, Justin and I were trading a bunch of strategy on TikTok shops and like just what to do around affiliate outreach, or how to like get a little bit more tactical on like specific creators you want to outreach to versus doing like sort of the widespread strategy, or like, what you do on the ad spend side, or creator briefs. Like something that Justin gave me specifically is like making like a great creator brief with like a lot more content around it, maybe like a video walkthrough. And so I think like for us, it's always been like, you want to find pure brands or even brands ideally that are doing better than you. And everyone in the CPG space is just like quite friendly, I would say. Maybe some of the big guys less so, but most of the up and coming brands are like very nice, and they're happy to share any strategy that's working for them. And I think just like tapping into a general network, I think it also helps to just finding the right software or agency partners, right? Where like sometimes it's hard to find a fit for your size business or what's going to work for you.
And like a lot of times other brands have great referrals, right? Like this is someone I've worked with in the past, or this is someone I trust. And you can just cut through a lot of noise. Like nothing worse than partnering with an agency or software that just doesn't work and just waste a lot of time and money, right? So, for me, it's always tapping into other brands that are, similar size or sometimes smaller, sometimes bigger. Just finding out what works from them, and then, just trying to spend money on the stuff that they said already is working and maybe make it a little bit better or put a little bit of like your own brand spin on it, right? Every brand has their own road, but I think for us, that's generally been like what's worked the best and how we stayed growing.
Makes total sense to me. That's what I do. That's why I jump on these calls. I do this so I can learn. I don't care if anyone watches this. This is my own homework here. I'm gonna end this with, I'm gonna give you all a question, and I want you to give me one sentence. I'm gonna roundtable it, and you guys raise your hand, and who wants to answer it first. The question is, if a $5 million brand came up to you and said, I'm stuck at 5 million for the last 2 years, what's the biggest thing I should focus on to break through? What would you say? Okay,
Launch new products, probably. I see a lot of brands that they get comfortable with their revenue. Maybe it's more money than they've ever made in their lifetime. And they sit on their lofty cloud thinking like, I've made it. And they don't keep innovating. And then over time, that product is no longer relevant or whatever. I actually just had a call 2 days ago with a brand that I used to envy when I was a young mom, and bought their baby stuff, and not an Amazon company, and I was shocked. They've just not innovated for years, and now they're struggling, and they need to dig themselves out, and they're like, have a hard time with what product to sell. So I think you always have to have products in the pipeline. I think you also have to kill off products that are no longer relevant so that you keep your business manageable, but you always have to have stuff. And a lot of those $5 million sellers that don't move or their business is declining, you find that they just didn't keep launching.
Makes sense. We at Bullseye, we always say ABL, always be launching. That's what we tell our clients, because we know that, look, as an agency standpoint, the worst thing we want is churn, right? Churn for us is like, death for an agency. So I always tell my team leads, if you don't get your clients launching new products, they're not creating on the brand, and they're going to fire us. And it actually happens. If they ride on those products, they're eventually, hey, we don't need you guys. We're just going to squeeze as much profit out of this thing as we can get. So always be launching for your clients. And that's been a big mantra for us. So Aaron, I have a feeling you have the same answer.
Exactly the same answer. Actually, there's even like another look at it.
Okay.
Which is do the thing that got you to 5 million.
Yeah, you launched products.
First, you get products. Great. Like you went from 0 to 5 million because you had no products. Now you have 2, 5, 10. Do that again. Like that's the mind-blowing piece about e-commerce, is that if you do that one time, you can do it 100 times.
Exactly.
You can do it 1,000 times. Right? Like that's the secret of it. Because you don't need another store. You don't need it's already the whole United States or the whole world or whatever country you're in. So do the thing that got you to 5 million, or will get you to 10 as well. But if you stop doing that, then you won't go. So exactly Prud's answer.
And you've all had bombs. I'm sure all of you have had product launch bombs, of course, and would probably have had more bombs than you've had home runs. Okay,
I heard something that might be a myth, but I don't know. But I've heard that Procter and Gamble's success rate of launching new products is like 4%.
I would believe it, because they're
sure, but like the point is they don't have so much crap to find one thing that's going to sell like the entire world.
And it sounds like Hollywood right now, doesn't it? That's like Hollywood stats. All right, Justin, what's your answer? Stuck in 5 million.
Mine would be to change your marketing strategy. At least for me, what I found was for our brand, 90% of our success was marketing, 10% was product when we were acquiring a customer. And then it flipped the other way. Once we acquired them, the product being great was 90% of the reason why they rebought, and it was 10% more. So it's like a duality of worlds of, if you're trying to scale your brand, you need to have really strong marketing. And then if you want to compound your business, you need to have a really great product that people want to buy again.
Makes sense, Justin, because you don't come from a high SKU count business over here. You have your very specific oral care. Like you can't launch 800 different types of oral care. I can see it's kind of limited. So I can see your viewpoint being different. So that's a good way to look at it. What about you, Jay? What's your answer to a guy stuck at 5 million?
I've got 2. Launch TikTok shops is one. That's the one I'm giving everyone today. Another one is just profit is cooler than revenue. So just, don't go too in the red on your way to build it. Like It's much cooler to be a smaller profitable business than it is to be a larger unprofitable one.
Well, so, and you cut out on the first thing you said. You said TikTok shop. I just want to make sure.
Launch
that
TikTok shops. That's it. Yeah, just get started. Just jump in, one product, one person, 1 hour a day. It doesn't matter. Like, just start. Still the sort of gold rush, and it won't see soon. So my advice to everyone today is I'm very bullish on the platform. Still early to get in.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, guys. You all did not have to be here. If I didn't bribe all of you, you wouldn't have arrived. So thank you so much for receiving my bribe and arriving today.